Cherie. We'll get into that at the end. It means something. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for coming on. I know it's a little later for you because you're on the East Coast, so I appreciate you taking the time.
Oh, thank you. It's an honor to be here and to share.
Well, you are, I hate to say my client because you're so much more than that. You're one of my best friends. And every time I think about getting rid of social media because I have those days where I'm like, why do I do this? It's so toxic. I think of honestly like you and our relationship and think this would have never happened for Instagram. And I think you never know who you're going to meet, who you're going to impact, who's going to impact you. So I keep it on the hard days, but we met on Instagram and you reached out and I started to train you over FaceTime before that was a thing, before COVID. Now that's like all I do. So we were ahead of the game. But it's so crazy to think that we've been training together for like almost 3 years, I think. Like since
Yeah, 3 years this
2019.
month.
Oh my gosh. And we've never
It
met
flew by.
and it flew by. And you have become one of my best friends. Everyone needs a Cherie in their life. You're so inspiring and I love your story and I've learned so much from you over these 3 years and you've seen me through a ton of personal stuff and I just don't know what I would do without you and I'm glad that you were able to come on because I think that you can inspire so many women and you're starting this whole new journey in your life and I want to talk about that too, but I would just love to hear kind of a little bit of your background on how you got to where you are today. And I know there's a lot that we want to talk about as far as just especially with women, like self-confidence and self-love and not really just going with what society tells us to be, which in my opinion is small, kind of keep it tiny and quiet. Success is being married with kids and having a job where you make a certain amount of money and and I really love that you I'll let you tell your story, but kind of went down that path for a bit and then realized that it wasn't you weren't really being true to who you were and you knew you had more to offer the world and you completely changed paths. And so that's why I'm excited to have you on to talk about it. So I'll let you kind of start and just like tell your story, a little bit of your background.
Sure. So I'm an East Coast girl. I'm from Massachusetts. And I like to say I had an ordinary life. Nothing crazy. Two loving parents, two younger siblings, going through life, doing what we're supposed to do, what society kind of tells us to do. And at each kind of milestone in your life, you're supposed to be married by a certain age, you're supposed to have children by a certain age, be at a certain point in your career, have so much money in your 401k, the list goes on and on. And I was just following kind of those guidelines and those rules and not really questioning why. I flew under the radar. I had I still have a successful HR career, but I was just under the radar. I didn't want to make a splash. I wanted everyone to like me. I was, people pleasing. And just not really just going through the motions of life. And I was around 46 and looking at turning 50 now, I'm over the halfway point to 50, thinking about what does that look like? I have the list of all the things that I'm going to become according to the societal parameters that are placed on women. And I'm thinking that no, that's not me. And coincidentally, I had a conversation with a friend and we're talking about my job and she said, oh, wow, you get to attend board meetings. I'd love to go to board meetings, and I want a VP title someday. Oh, you must be so happy. And the conversation was flowing, and after I hung up the phone, it was like a ton of bricks landed on me. She thinks I'm happy because someone's labeled me a VP and I'm attending board meetings. And then that's like the conversation. And I think, we can all think of a conversation that we've had in our lifetime where it's life changing and you had no idea that that's what it was going to be. This was just a catch up call with a friend, and it literally changed my life because I started asking myself, are you happy doing this every day for the rest of your life? And the answer I got was no. I'm grateful for my career. I'm grateful for the income it provided, but happy? Mm-mm. And that was when I made the shift, and everything changed after that.
Yeah. So what did you do first, like in that moment when you realized, like, I don't know if you were, sorry, were you married at the time to your first husband?
Yes.
What happened? Okay. So you were married to your first husband, you have 2 kids, and
Yes.
and you have your career going, and it just hits you like, I'm not happy. What was the first step you took, or what did you realize you needed to do to make yourself happy?
I had to invest in myself. I had to make myself a priority. Being a mom, being a wife, being an employee, you're taught to always give externally, right? Give everything you got to your career, your family, your children. And at the end of the day, there's really nothing left to give to yourself. So I started making myself a priority. I started investing. I started going to take classes, go to yoga class, physically invest in myself, do healing work on the inside. I just started reaching out to all kinds of healers and trying to find my place in that world because I know that's where I am meant to be, to help. And how do I do that? Where do I start? Where do I begin? Begin with healing myself first.
Yeah, you have this this quote on your website that I love, and it says, self-love, self-respect, self-worth, there is a reason that they all start with self. You cannot find them in anyone else. And it really made me think, I watch my little niece, who's almost 4, and she watches all these old Disney movies and that I watched, and growing up, she's a lot like I was, where she'll talk about finding her Prince Charming, and she'll say, I want a husband, I want to get married, and she's only 4, not even, and it clicked, like, I have been in the past really hard on myself because from my niece's age, we're taught that someone else will come make us whole. Somebody, we're going to find like our Prince Charming. We're not whole until we find that person. And so therefore, like, your life hasn't really started. You aren't really complete. And therefore you can't be happy and successful, in a lot of different things. And so I try to tell her, not everybody gets married. That's okay. You don't need a Prince Charming. You don't need a boy in your life. If you want one, that's great. And you know what? Girls love girls and boys love boys. And I try to explain to her that it's not just what you see in these Disney movies. And I had the same exact experience growing up. And what I love about you is the work you're doing. It's kind of having women think outside of the box and realize that just because society tells us that we have to take these steps, it doesn't mean happiness. It doesn't mean success for everybody. Everyone has a different version of what or vision of what success and happiness is to them. So anyway, I love that. I went off a little bit, um, but I do love
But
that
that's true.
message.
That's conditioning and societal parameters that are put on us. Um, Success, you determine what success looks like for you. We're taught that success is defined outside of ourselves. And that's just simply not true. We determine what our success looks like by our rules.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And then you went off. You realized, I did things society's way. I'm not happy. You went off and started to, find out who you were and do all this healing work. So what did you how did you go about it when you started finding, because I feel like when you're married and you're settled in your career, and then you start to find, like, you start to do your self work on yourself, you're not the same as you shouldn't be, because you have done all this work and you realize who you are and what you want, and it might be different from what you have. So how do you go about, because I know a lot of women that aren't happy in their marriages and they're not happy with their career, and they feel so stuck, or this pressure to stay in something that doesn't make them happy. So how did you kind of navigate that next chapter of your life?
So when you start to do the work on the inside, when you start loving yourself unconditionally, you're not finding your worth, your value, or love in somebody else. You're finding it within yourself. The answers are just there. They just are. When you love yourself unconditionally, when you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, I love you, right? I love you. You may have gray hairs. You may have put on 10 pounds. You may have wrinkles. Who cares? I still love you. And I think as women, we're always comparing ourselves to something outside of us, someone you see on a post or TV or a magazine. It doesn't matter. All of these things that we're taught matter don't. Like, you need to love yourself. You need to want all the good things for yourself. It's not the limiting beliefs that you can only have certain things and you can only be successful if you follow these steps. Mm-hmm. It's your life to live. Right. Like, you live it how you want to. It's not up for anyone else to decide how you live your life. Mm-hmm. I spent a lot of my life living in those walls and those parameters. And when you start healing, you start seeing that, you know what? I am worthy. I was born worthy. We were all born worthy. We don't have to live in those walls any longer. It's a choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's crazy to think that, I mean, I know you've told me before that who you were in that chapter of your life and who you are in this chapter of your life are like two completely different people. You didn't feel like you could really speak up, and you kind of went with whatever someone else wanted to do. And now you have like found your voice and you have opinions, and you're not afraid to share them or stick up for yourself. And that just shows that when you really do the self work on yourself and you find out who you are, this confidence that you didn't even know you had inside you kind of comes out, and so much can happen for you. So I think that's so important as women. And I also see a lot of women kind of putting other women down. a lot on social media, and it happens to me too sometimes, and I feel like a lot of it, from what I see, are hurt women that kind of are a little like, I don't want to say jealous, but like, they're just kind of like they're not happy with themselves, and they see someone else that's out there, being confident, or living a life that maybe they wish they had the courage to live, and then I think they are mean to each other, and I wish that more women would support other women. I think we're getting there, but I think there's still a lot of this like negative talk towards women. And I was listening to a podcast today with Kim Kardashian on it, was a guest, and it's interesting because I've even found myself talking down about her, but really, she just, I don't know her well. I've met her a few times, but she's done so much good, but we focus on what the media like puts out there of her, which is not anywhere close to all the good things that she's done to try to get, people out of prison that shouldn't be in there, trying to save people that are on death row that shouldn't be there. And she does all this good and all this charity work, but we hear about like the dumbest stuff with her, and we just assume that she's a certain way or whatever. And that happens every day with ordinary people all the time. So the work that you're doing to help women, I think that it just will help. Then every woman that you touch will touch somebody else, and I think it's going to make a huge impact.
Right, because we're not taught to like all rise together. Mm-hmm. It's like, you're clawing to get to the top is kind of how you raise. That's kind of what's, your limiting beliefs. Like, we can all rise together. We can all support each other. We don't have to tear each other down, but that's coming from something within them, right? If you feel compelled to tear someone else down, something inside you, right? You need to do the work on the inside. And, I often talk with clients, who do you surround yourself with? Do you get together and you're all talking about all the things that have gone wrong and, pick apart other women? Or do you get together and talk about all the great things that are going on? All the successes, all the wonderful things in life. Like if you had a walk in nature and you saw an eagle, like I'm going to be talking about that. I'm not going to be talking about someone not picking up their dog poop on the side of the road. Like, you want to spread positive messages, positive vibes, and your aura, your energy field extends beyond you. Right. So even what's going on in your mind and your body, what you embody is coming out through your energetic field. So people's energy is reading the other. So you already know, have you ever walked into a room and you're like, oh, I think these two are just arguing, right? The energy's connecting and interpreting. It's like an antenna.
Yes. I noticed that. I'm very sensitive to energy. So even if I'm just standing next to somebody and their energy is off to me, I get like an overwhelming feeling of like, I cringe almost, like I don't like their energy, and they say nothing to me. They don't even look at me. I just go, I don't know what it is about this person. Like, I have to get away from them. And then I have people that I don't even know, and I just feel like they have great energy, something about them. And what's interesting is I've noticed that like, especially at the gym, when I worked at Equinox, like I would kind of feel someone's energy that I connected to, not knowing who they were, just, seeing them. And eventually all of the people that I have initially liked their energy somehow make their way into my life.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting, you know? So there is something to that, I think, to energy, for sure.
Right. You're going to attract what you're putting out. Those are the vibes that you're going to put out. That's what you're going to get back.
Mm-hmm.
In the the other piece is you're also like it gets into your energy field and it's going out, and that's what you're attracting. But doing the work on the inside, for example, if you are doing a diet, right, and you say, I'm going to do a diet for 12 weeks, that's kind of a decision in your mind, and it's external. If you don't bring that in and embody the life of a healthy person, like, I'm going to be healthy, you're going to yo-yo diet because you're not embodying that. It's still outside of you. And when you bring that energy in and you say, I'm going to embody a healthy lifestyle, I'm going to own it with my mind, body, and soul, then that's when shifts happen, and that's when change happens, and you're no longer dieting, it's just your lifestyle.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you did the self, back to your life. You did all the self, work on yourself. You discovered that you weren't super happy. You got out of that marriage. You found your husband you have now. You have an amazing relationship with.
Yes.
And you've decided that you are going to this dream job that everyone says you're so lucky to have, which it's been great for you, but you've decided you want to start something else to help people. And so do you want to talk about your new chapter and what you're going to be doing?
Yeah. So I'm super excited and passionate about my business, Cherie. So I'm working with women, coaching women, mentoring, guiding, all the titles, back to unconditional self-love and confidence. So it's really exciting. I'm starting a group program in September, and it's on pre-sale now for diving deep into mind, body, and soul. It's amazing, and I haven't seen anything out there on the market like it. So I'm really excited to share all of that. And some of the ladies that I've been coaching, amazing changes. Like, they walk into the room and you can see the change in their aura, their energy. When you really love yourself unconditionally, confidence isn't even like, you don't even need it to be in your vocabulary because you just are. Being in corporate America for 20 plus years in human resources, I'd often hear managers say, well, I empowered Sue to do this or that, but she's not doing it. She's not owning it. And that's another word that's thrown around a lot, empowerment. And through my own self-discovery, empowerment comes from within. It's not something that I can put on a plate and say, here, Morgan, I empower you. If you don't feel empowered, then my words saying you're empowered doesn't mean you are. And that's a lot of, I've been hearing a lot of empowerment talk, and it's an inside job. It comes from within. You empower you. Nobody can empower you. And loving yourself unconditionally, people can show you love. They can say, I love you. But we all know when you don't feel loved inside, right? And you're seeking it externally. You need to love yourself unconditionally. And then you show up and you just love everything unconditionally, right? No judgment.
Right. And I do personally, I've done a lot of work on myself, and I see a hypnotherapist who I love. I find that self-love is definitely, at least for me, a continuous process. Like it's like never ending. You know, I have ebbs and flows. I have moments where, or like really like seasons where I am very confident. I know my worth. I know what I want. I see everything so clearly. I know that I put out this confidence. I know that I put out this energy that I love in that moment. And then I also like will all of a sudden go backward, and maybe something will happen to me that triggers something from my past, or like something like recently happened in my last therapy session. I told her what happened, and she and it really put me back into this like, I don't really know if I'm confident at this time. I don't really know if I love myself truly. Like it really like messed with me. And she said, you know, she put it so great. She said, you know, when you go on a date with somebody, like a first date or a second date, and it went really well, and you almost like get butterflies and you're just so excited. You have this excitement about this new possibility of this new relationship. And I said, yes. And she said, I want you to, you know, envision that. I want you to really take in what that feels like when you're excited about someone new. I need you to feel that way about yourself every day you wake up.
Yes.
You feel that way about yourself. Are you excited about who you are? Are you excited to be in love with yourself? And I'm like, no, I'm not there right now. I'm not there. And she's like, then I suggest you get off like any dating app you're on. I need you to just take a break, and I need you to really find that again in you, because I've seen you have it and then you lose it. And it's just an ongoing process of self-love, because so much happens to you. And I also see a holistic doctor, and he at the same time, like that same day, I think I saw both of them, and he did his work on me, and he said, okay, something's happened to you that, and I didn't even tell him anything, and he said it has triggered something from your past, and we need to remove that person from your life, and we need to you know, like address the situation, and you need to just you know, get it done with. And so we did that energy work, and it's just an ongoing thing. And I think it's so important to do that, because so many people go through life not meditating, not having, you know, getting therapy, not getting help. And there's so much that happens to you day to day in your life that I think people don't address. And then before you know it, you're depressed, or you're unhappy, or something's going on, you know, and you just keep ignoring it. But your life could be so much brighter and better if you address those things and work on yourself, and have therefore you'll have the confidence in who you are to be able to do these things that you've always dreamed of doing, whatever that is for you, to bring yourself happiness. But it all starts within. And I don't know if, you know, a lot of the average person really gets an opportunity to experience that.
Yeah, I like to say there's no finish line, right? Like you say, oh, I did this inner child work, or I did this shadow work. I'm good. Yeah. There's always going to be things in life that happen. So you dig deeper, right? And you see what hasn't healed. One little thing that I'll share that happened to me as, I guess I must have been about 10 or 12. I was raised Catholic, and I was doing First Communion. And, I'm there with all my girlfriends, and we're getting in line and going up to, receive communion. And I had my hands the wrong way. And I didn't realize, and I'm just up there, and I'm here with the priest putting my hand out. And he stopped everything, and he unleashed on me. He screamed in front of the whole church. Now, I'm a young girl, 10, 12. And I was horrified. And he demonstrated, in front of the entire church. We had a big old church, and how to put my hands correctly. And then he sent me on my way. And that, like, you could say it's a little trauma or little blip on the radar. Like, that was in me. That I'm talking about it today, right? Mm-hmm. So that's something that impacted how I show up in the world. Am I a people pleaser? Do I lack confidence? Do I lack self-worth? And so I took that on as something wrong with me. I had my hands in the wrong place. But he also just came out of his vow of silence. So he was like just ready to have some, be talking. And it really wasn't about me. Right. But I took that on as my identity and always was staying under the radar. I'm not going to go over because I'm not going to have somebody hollering at me. And that has lived with me my entire life until I started digging deep. And we all have a lot of those. I guess in the coaching world, they call them little trauma, big trauma, little trauma. We all have little things like that, embarrassing moments or scary things that have happened that we move on. We don't dwell on it. We don't even really think about it consciously, but it lives inside of us.
Oh, yeah, it does.
And keeps you small.
Oh, my gosh, I know. It's a lot of things, like, subconsciously that you take in. And I never realized until I started seeing my holistic doctor, and he will pinpoint things, and he's like, so, I think he's psychic. He says he's intuitive, but whatever. He's got a gift, and he will call out certain things that I have completely forgot about. Mm-hmm. And he'll go, think hard. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that affected me, and it did. And I was going to speak on something like little things like that, like the experience that you had. Yes, that's what I was going to say, is it reminds me of a book that we read called The Four Agreements. Yes. And yes. It's so, the main takeaway for me on that book was to not take things personally, because it's not about you, it's about that person. And it's so true. And when I really stopped to think about it, like little traumas that I've had in my past with my parents or an ex-boyfriend or whatever, when I really stop and think about it, and remove the personal thing, like remove and just look at it as an outsider, I see so clearly that it wasn't about me. Like, I've had moments where someone in my life that I'm very close to would say, "You're such an idiot. You're so stupid. You're not going to amount to anything in life. You're just going to be stuck in this town forever like the rest of us." Like certain things like that. And I really took it personally, and I started to believe that. And I started to believe that I was unlovable, and because that's what I was told. But it wasn't until later that I realized that it was that person believing those things about them, and they were just, projecting. And eventually I got an apology, and they admitted, like, this was not about you. This was about me. But because of that, similar to you and your experience with the priest, I embodied that, and that was my identity for a very long time, which in return attracted people in my life that weren't good for me, because that's what I believed subconsciously that I deserved. So the good thing is you do this work on yourself, just like you did, and you find this amazing husband, and you've done this like whole journey yourself, and you're so happy with everyone in your life that you're surrounding yourself with, and it's so great to see, and I feel like I'm getting there. And now I've gotten to a point where I can see very quickly if this is like the old person that I'm attracting that I don't need in my life, or if it's a new, and I'm getting really good at like cutting off those relationships early on that I know aren't good for me. And I'm starting to attract good people into my life, but it's an ongoing, like you said, process. It's never ending. It's just a lot of work.
Well, that's how I found you, quite honestly. I mean, we're a 3 hour time difference. Like the odds of both of us, like that really working out, was like, okay. But I could go down the street and get a personal trainer, right? If that's what I was just looking for, a trainer. I invite people into my world that they're like energies, right? So I'm so fine tuned with that. But even with clients, like I'm not here to impact or inspire everyone. There's other people out there that work with those energies. I bring into my world the energies, like energies, right? And that's who I attract. I don't attract people with an energy that doesn't vibe with me. I just don't. And that's exactly what you're speaking to now that you've done the work and you're starting to attract the right people into your world.
Well, and another thing that's interesting about that is that recently, I feel like with all the work that I've done since meeting this hypnotherapist during COVID, is that people and clients that have been in my life for 8 or 9 years, I met them when I was at a different energy. And now we're not working out so well. Like I feel like breakups are coming up. Like it's like, like it's like it's like, clients are like relationships. It's like it's like a marriage. And we're like, I don't really want to be in this marriage anymore. It's been 9 years. We're different people now, and we're kind of getting to the point where I know relationships are ending, which is really hard. At the same time, it's become toxic because the energy of who we were when we got together is not the energy that we are now. And so I'm seeing, but I have to try, and I could easily panic because these are clients that I've had for a very long time, relationships that I've had for a long time, but it no longer serves anybody. And and I have to trust the process that I'm not that person anymore, and I am going to make room for new energy, new people that I'm going to vibe with better, and it's going to be healthier. And it's just interesting how it happens in work, it happens in personal life, and it's very. I think we get so attached to things and people that it's easy to fight. And I've done that in past relationships where I'm like, no, I don't want this to end, and I hold on so tight. But later realize like, oh, thank God that didn't work out. Why did I fight so hard? And so as you go through these changes and you become this better version of yourself, I've realized to just, okay, it's not working out. It's okay. Like, let it go. It's energy. Let it go. Something else will come up. With like clients, money, relationships, like anything. I'm just like, okay, let it come, let it leave. It would be easy to panic, but it always works out. So why am I going to panic? It's out of my control, But I think that we try to, just control everything. That's just our nature.
Yep. And it's you're making space for the right people for you. You can't train everybody. No. Right? Not everybody's your ideal client. So you're making space for new clients.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just interesting. This I feel like a lot is happening right now in the world, and it's just an interesting time. I think it's just a time for change. I think everyone's going through some sort of big change right now. I don't know what it is, but it's just interesting to see. But I enjoy it though. I used to dread change, and now I kind of look forward to it because I realize as much as you try to fight it, it always ends up working out and better than
Mm-hmm.
you thought it would. Even if you think it's going to be the most awful thing that's ever happened, it's always a good thing. So I try to go with it. Um,
Yeah, it's always this or better, right?
yeah,
So it's fabulous now, so it's always going to be fabulous or better than fabulous.
right, right. Yes. Well, I love the work that you're doing. I I love looking at your website. It looks so great, and your Instagram looks so great, and I'm so proud of you for everything that you're doing. Um,
Thank you.
yeah, I what advice do you have for women that do feel kind of stuck, whether that be in their career, in like a marriage they're not happy in, or just in their lifestyle in general with their health, or whatever it is, and they're kind of just stuck. Like, what do you what advice do you have for those women to help, like, their first step in order to start changing to be happy?
I would say the first step is invest in a coach. Find if you're into Reiki, if you're into meditation, yoga. You don't have to necessarily invest in a coach if you're not there yet. Invest in yourself, right? Get out of your comfort zone. Take a yoga class if you've never taken yoga. Try a meditation. Try 5 minutes. Um, I am a huge fan of meditation. All of my clients, we do meditation. We don't do an hour meditation, but it's incorporated into our work. Um, a lot comes through when you quiet your mind. A lot of everything you need to know is within you. And I'm not just saying that. That's like, I've lived that. I know that. I didn't find answers outside of myself. I found them inside myself. So you quiet the mind and listen for guidance. Ask for guidance. But if you're ready for that next step and you're looking to find a coach, find somebody that you resonate with, right? Because there's lots of coaches out there. Find the person that you connect with, that you, like you and I, like I said, I could have a trainer anywhere, right? I have a connection with you, and because I have a connection, we connect, I get results, right? Um, I've had trainers in the past where I had no results, but I was personal training all the time,
Yeah.
right? There has to be that connection. And when you have it, like, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, my body's transformed working with you um, because we connect.
Thank you. Yes, we do. It's crazy. Like, some people I feel like I've known forever, and we've never met in person, yet you're one of my best friends, and we just connect. And it's one of those situations where, and my friend Steve and I say the same thing. We're like, I swear we've known each other from a past life or something. But like, we were like, it's just, you vibe with somebody and you think there's no way I haven't met you before. It's just one of those things. It's very, very cool. And I love everything you said, and I agree 100%. And I am someone who would obsess about certain things and still struggle with it sometimes, but I'm so much better at it now, where I would search for everybody's answers, like, what do I do, what do I do, what do I do, and nothing anyone ever told me I liked. And it wasn't until I found meditation, and I've gone through guided meditations with my hypnotherapist, where I have gotten all the answers I was looking for. And
Mm-hmm.
people tell me all the time when I say meditate, they say, oh, I can't. Like, I say 5 minutes, I can't. I hate meditation. I can't just sit there. I said, then you need it the most. You need it the most.
Right.
If you sit there for 5 minutes and just try not to think, you need it more than anybody. And I really encourage people to start, trying meditation, as hard as it is. I know it's tough. I personally do better in a class actually going to meditation, or doing it with my hypnotherapist, because It is tough. I've been better about doing it before bed. I wish I could do it in the morning, but I'm just in such a rush with, going to clients at 5 a.m. But it's so helpful, and you get so many answers. And you're right, you can't find these answers in other people or outside. Like, you have to really search within, and they're all there. I see things so clearly when I'm in a meditation and she says, like, take this path to the left, this is this direction, take this path to the right. And I'm like, when I'm trying to figure out a decision I need to make, and I'm like, oh, it's so clear. Like, why didn't I see this before? But it's just quieting the mind. You can find, so much of your answers just sitting by yourself, like, really, tuning in.
And, you made a good point, like seeking answers from everybody around you. What I found was, well, I would ask, what do you think I should do? What do you think I should do? At the end of the day, like 99% of the time, I did what I originally wanted to do anyway. It was like I was looking for justification.
Yeah.
Like, if all these people agree with me, it must be the right decision. You don't need everybody to agree with you. You already know.
Yes. People hate, like, people would get to the point in my life where they're like, I don't know why you're asking me, because you never follow anyone's advice. You do what you want to do anyway. And I'm like, that's 100% true. I'm looking at people to go, I know this isn't a good decision, but I'm going to do it. Is everyone on board? And everybody says no. And I'm like, great, I'm going to do it anyway. Like, that's just
exactly
that's how I am. It's the Sag in me, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's another thing that you're learning that I'm super excited about, is you're learning birth charts and how to read that. And I think that is so, from what I've heard, so helpful in finding out, like, who you are and what you're about and getting those answers. And I find it so fascinating, and there's so much to it. And I can't wait for you're taking these, like, classes, and it's all very confusing to me. So I can't wait for you to read my birth chart.
It is to me still. I completed level 1, but I've always been interested in astrology, and I just always thought there must be more to this. And, like, our birth sign is this much of the puzzle. There's a whole chart. And, generally speaking, we only talk about our sign. We say, oh yeah, I'm an Aquarius. Oh yeah, that sounds just like me. And that's such a really, like, a tiny piece of the pie. And it's like your blueprint. It really is when you dig into it. So I'm really excited to continue down that path and then be able to share that with my clients. I'm dabbled in human design, which is another whole thing, but it's another type of blueprint. So, yeah.
That's amazing. I love it. I'm so into it. I can't wait to just, hear your stories of how you are helping women. And I know you're just getting started with this new business. And so I want to have you on, like, 6 months from now, and, like, hear how you've, like, impacted and people, and hopefully have your own podcast, and then you can have some of your clients on to talk about their experiences, because I know that this is what you were meant to do. You feel so strongly that you were meant to be a leader, and you were meant to help other women. And what's interesting is I know that women are drawn to you and come to you for advice and come to you for things. It's like, this is your calling, and you couldn't run from it. You couldn't escape from it. And so I admire you for not settling for what society tells women that they are supposed to do and be. You said no. You made it to VP and making a certain amount and having, like, that's just everything that people say you're supposed to have, and you decided, not for me. And you've gone this whole other direction, and this is the healthiest you've been physically and mentally and emotionally and everything. And so it just shows that this is the path for you. And so I encourage a lot of, all the women out there to not just settle. And if you have a feeling you're meant to do something, that's your body telling you something, and you gotta just like, you gotta do it, because we've only got, as far as we know, one shot at this. And it's, you know, I think it's important to listen to yourself, and if you feel strongly about something, even if it's scary or uncomfortable, just follow your intuition and do what you need to do to make yourself happy, and not worry about what other people think or what society tells you. And yeah, and so I admire you a lot for doing all of that.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be making that shift if I didn't do the work on myself first. And that's why I'm so passionate about helping other women, because I did the work on me first. So I know the impact it can have, and how you can shift your life and live your dreams. Like I want to impact as many people as possible. I want to inspire women to live the life they want to live, right? It's everyone's got their own life to live. And we live so much in these parameters of other people's expectations. No, not everyone's going to like you. You know, when I told my mom, this is what I'm doing, she's like, oh, you're leaving your job? You're giving up your salary? I'm like, Mom, yes, I'm going to rock it.
Yes.
This is what I'm meant to do.
Yes. And I truly believe that, first of all, we all know that money doesn't buy happiness, but it does buy some sort of security, and there is something to being able to pay your bills and not stress about money, but it doesn't buy happiness. I also think that if you do follow what you're meant to do, and you listen to yourself, and you trust yourself, and you do what you're passionate about, there's no way the money's not coming with it. You know,
Exactly.
I don't think you go off and you're an artist but you're poor. You know, I think that you are an artist, and if it's what you're meant to do and you're true to yourself, the money comes with it, you know, because that's what you're
Exactly.
meant to do. I don't think God would give you this talent or this calling and then say, okay, you're meant to do this, but you're also meant to be broke. I don't think that's how it goes. And so I think that I went through the same thing as a trainer. My mom said, you're going to be poor your whole life. Like, what are you doing? You know, you're going to make nothing. And I just didn't believe that. And I said, no, I'm going to go to LA and I'm going to kill it. And you know, I'm doing okay. So I just don't believe that that's true. And so I know a lot of people worry about that when it comes to, you know, especially like artistic people. They think, oh, but I have this job and I'm making this money and it's security, and how can I leave that? And I just think you got to trust yourself and believe in yourself, and you'll be fine. You'll be just fine.
Exactly. Believing it, right? Embodying that, like taking that all in and just moving forward and knowing, just knowing, not questioning it, just knowing this is where I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And this is who I am. And you're right. It just, the money just comes in. It just does, because you're just doing what you're meant to do.
Right. I fully believe that. Oh, I've loved talking to you. Thank you so much for coming on.
I always love our conversations.
Me too. Me too. I feel like we should record them all the time because we got some good stuff.
Maybe that'll be my future podcast.
we need a reality show. We just talk.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Cherie, and I hope to have you on again one day and talk about how things are going with this new chapter in your life and all the lives that you touch. I'm very excited to see where this goes.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a live birth chart reading.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. I love that. Definitely. Where can people find you on your website and your social media?
So my social media is Instagram. That's where I hang out. It's at Cherie Nikosey on Instagram. So if you want to give me a follow over there, if I've inspired you and you like what you hear, follow me on Instagram. And then I do have, as I mentioned earlier, my group coaching starting in September. I'm super excited about this. It's going to be amazing. So I have early bird enrollment on that starting now. So if anybody's interested, have questions, just want to chat, reach out, send me a DM on Instagram, or fill out the contact form on my website. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Don't hesitate to reach out. And even if it's not the right time for you, I'm still happy to answer your questions. Yeah, so that's where I can be found.
I love that. Well, thank you so much. And we will check in soon. We definitely need to do like a live birth chart reading.
Yes.
That's next. All right. Well, take care. I love you. And I will see you soon for our training session.
Yes, I love you. Thank you so much. And I'll see you tomorrow.
All right. See you then. Bye.
Bye.